Hey, hi, welcome to Tech Talk. We're here today with Mr. Bruce Egnater. He's from America on a tour in Australia. Mr. Egnater, may I say Bruce?
Bruce is fine.
Bruce, thank you. A lot of people might know you because of all the amplifiers that you've worked with over all those years, customizing them and hot rodding them. What was the biggest thing you ever had to work on for a big artist to hot rod their amplifier?
Oh, gosh, hard question.
Or the weirdest thing?
I don't think I answered that question. There's so many stuff. Some of the things, it weren't necessarily modifications or things, but some of the guys I did stuff for Stevie Ray Vaughan, and it was kind of burst my bubble when I saw what he was really using and all that. That's a long story, but it's kind of cool. As far as the weirdest thing, I did work on Kiss's guitar, the one that lights up, the lights in it. That was kind of cool. They brought it in and it had a blown fuse in the power supply, and they turned it on. And it was like, wow, this is cool. It was in my shop. So that was probably the coolest thing I've ever had in the shop, was that guitar. But as far as amplifiers, I've done so many things for so many people. I don't know if you could pick one thing. Really.
Interesting.
Well, it's all interesting.
Yeah, it's all interesting.
I love doing it all, and everything is, a little different. I've done stuff for a lot of people, but I'd have to say there's not one particular really crazy thing that I did.
It was all crazy.
Yeah, it's all kind of goofy,
Yeah, because you had a man who brought us basically the dual channel amplifier.
Yeah, kind of. Well, that was one of the things I did, not for somebody else, but for myself when I started studying and designing amps and all that kind of stuff. Nobody made a two-channel amp at the time, so I was probably 20 years old, and I wanted an amp that had a clean and an overdrive channel, Fender and a Marshall, and nobody made one. Boogie had just come out with the must have been the Mark II that had the lead overdrive, gain and master, and I wanted something that had two channels on it, so nobody said you couldn't do it, so I just, I can do that, and I made an amp, and it actually worked, which was kind of cool. And then, local musicians, I'm in Detroit, and that's where there was actually quite that whole rock scene was just starting out with...
So that was in the 80s? 70s?
Yeah, that's been the 80s. 30 years ago, however long that was.
Wow, well, it's 2010
Late
now,
70s,
so 80s,
Yeah, but that's when, Iggy Pop and Alice Cooper and Bob Seger and Ted Nugent, all those bands were just coming out of Detroit. They were all local bands at the time. They weren't big yet, so those were all the guys we did all the work for. So that was what was happening there. We made this amplifier, and a number of the local players saw this thing, and that was kind of what started me in the whole amp making business.
Everybody wanted one of your amps.
Yeah, a little bit by accident. That's how it works.
It's a good accident.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
And then in the past, you also designed a lot of amplifiers for other companies. Is there anything you can talk about with that?
Yeah. Well, again, over the years, I've done it for a long time, so there's a lot of stuff that's happened over the years. But I've done work for a lot for Randall in particular, and a number of other companies that I've either adjusted designs for or tweaked things, or they came to me and said we need to fix these and made them work so they could produce them and all that kind of stuff. Randall in particular, I do a lot of their designs that most people don't know I do. Not so much anymore, but they have the plug-in modular tube stuff, the MTS series. That's actually my invention, and we have a patent on it. We license it to Randall, and they have their own designs for that stuff, and then we actually have a line of Egnater modular amps that they don't sell around the world. We hand make them in our little shop in Detroit, very small scale, so that's minimal, but it's cool stuff. But a lot of the other things that I've done for Randall, they've got one called the T2 and the B2 and the Dimebag, and that ended shortly after it came out. And then a lot of their signature stuff for certain artists.
So then the artist came to you and said, I would like to
they
hear this in
call
my
me,
amplifier, and you sit down with them and go like, okay, you have to tweak this and do that.
I was involved in quite a bit of that. So those are the main things over the years. And I had for quite a while there, I don't know how they found me, but I was the guy when the bands came to Detroit. and they needed things repaired or whatever. They would call me. So I got to meet a lot of people over the years, and we've had a number of different Egnator products. You know, now we do the modular stuff, we do all the new things here, but years ago we had a whole different line of things, and a lot of that is out there with people that still use it.
Still use it?
Yeah.
Oh, why not? So you still got your workshop in Detroit, as you said, and is it still like a custom shop? So custom
You know,
yeah.
not as much of anything anymore, other than I actually need a quiet place to go work.
Yeah.
So that's where the little engineering office is. It's myself and my son works with me there. But we do test our modular amps that we build. You know, minimum, small quantity, but we do that there. And you know, any customers, we've got customers that I've had for 30 years, so you can't turn them away. So I still do that kind of stuff. You know.
That was kind of fun too.
Yeah.
Then, you know, on the internet, you hear a lot, and also with guitar tips around, there's a lot of debate about different valves
Okay.
and amplifiers, you know, for your preamp valves or your power output valves. What's your opinion about it? You know, using different combination of valves.
Well, you know, we have on a lot of the products, we have the tube mix control on the little ones at 66 and the L84s. On the bigger ones, the Renegade, we do the tube mix has EL34s, the 6L6s, or 5881. So they're, you know, they're different sounds. But one of the things as a manufacturer, as much as tone is really important, I kind of like to tell things the way it really is. So, you know, tone is really important, but reliability is on par with that. You know, you buy an amp and a tube fails, and you don't say, oh, it's just a tube, you say my Egnator amp broke. So we're very aware of the reliability issue, so we test and try all kinds of tubes and use what's most reliable, even though there may be something else we want to use. There are certain brands that are cooler, or might even sound, you know, minimally better or different, but, you know, it's kind of like most players have their own preference anyway. The minute the tweaker came out, I have guys calling going, can we put KT88s in it? It's like, it's 15 watts, but sure, go ahead, stick whatever you want in there. So that's the kind of thing that I think players like to fool with themselves so we put what's, to us, the most reliable and sounds good, and then everybody's got their little favorite special tube that they've got stashed in their underwear drawer that they pull out and try in there. And,
Become accustomed to
yeah, here's my tube. So so they stick them in there. So
we'll talk about valves. You know, is there a big difference between the Russian-made valves and the stuff that you get from China nowadays? Already from years past.
It changes all the time. We used in the first run of Tour Masters. We actually, I'm not going to name brands because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
No, we don't.
But we had but we bought thousands and thousands of a particular high-end, costly brand of tube because we wanted the best stuff, and that's what we did. And we tested them and all that, and we had a lot of failure problems, and it was tubes. It wasn't our design. It was just that's what tubes do. I probably shouldn't be telling you, but anyway. So we've since switched. We now use Sovtek 12EX7 WAs for everything. All the preamps are that. That's what we use, and we've used for years in our modular stuff. And we use Sovtek 5881 6L6 type tubes because they sound great and they're the most reliable thing in the world. That tube never breaks. And when it came to EL34s, that was a real challenge to find the one that works. And we bought big batches of every EL34 we could get, every cool tube and every not so cool tube. And we ended up using the Ruby EL34, it's Magic Cars. It's that company, and those are actually Chinese tubes. And the way we test the EL34s is we put them in an amp and we whack them with a screwdriver. That's how we tested them. And even the most expensive, coolest brand of tubes, you hit it and they would blow. We would have 100% failures on certain brands. And the Rubies, I think we had one or two bad out of 100 tubes.
It's a pretty robust test when you do that.
Well, that's why we went with that too. And people go, well, that's not the best sounding one. Well, your amp will work every time you turn it on. So, and it sounds great. I mean, you know, when it comes to power tubes, it's like, what's the best string? Or, you know, it's amazing.